Hello, this is Harry Burkett with Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I'd like to wish Wrestler Wheatley a happy 5th anniversary. I'll also understand it's the birthday of Scottie's father coming up, and of course, he passed away this past April. But I'll always remember those great shots of Scottie's father holding a championship belt, holding a copy of Family Bacon Wrestling or a classic wrestling magazine, because for a lot of us, that's what wrestling was about, fathers and sons. Now that's opened up a bit. It's fathers and daughters and mothers and sons and mothers and daughters, the whole family. But I appreciate how special those memories are between fathers and sons. And I hope you have a great 6th season of Wrestler Weekly Presents.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to Wrestler Weekly Presents. I'm your host, Scottie Richardson, and my co-host,
Mike Leotis.
Welcome back. We have had just a phenomenal season so far, Mike. I mean, we've gone through the introduction to Wrestler Weekly. We have jumped into what we're into with LA Wrestling for myself and Portland for Mike, and we have gone through your episode with unboxing of belts and talking about JCP. And then we did last week CM Punk. I mean, we've done so many great episodes.
We talked about firsts. I mean, first magazines, first matches and arenas. So this is a big deal, and we are right before the holiday season where we are supposed to give thanks.
Absolutely.
And Reggie's back.
He's back.
Reggie's back.
And you know this.
Not with us here, but Reggie is back.
Well, and it's funny because I'm actually going to be with him tomorrow.
Oh, there you go.
Family and I are traveling to Jacksonville, Florida. We'll definitely be a little bittersweet, Mike. As you know, my father passed away in April, and this will be our first family Thanksgiving without Dad. So I'm sure it will be difficult. So keep us in your prayers there, Mike.
Absolutely.
And it will be a family bacon wrestling time because Miles and Piper and my wife Sarah will all be together at Thanksgiving down at the Richardson household in Jacksonville, Florida, the home of Tony Khan.
And Bobby Norton.
That's right. Absolutely. And so here we are. Family Bacon Wrestling. Can find the book on Amazon. Our T-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. Articles on Medium, but follow us on all social media outlets at Wrestler Weekly. And this week's show is one that we've been looking forward to as we programmed it a couple months back. But this is show and tell time.
Yes, it is. We've hyped this. We've talked about this.
We are going back to 3rd grade. It's like, you know, my son's in 4th grade, and I said, so what are you going to do for show and tell? He's like, Dad, that was last year. Okay.
There you go.
So, but we are going to do a show and tell episode. And really, it's going to be great for me, Mike, because we have a box, and I couldn't tell you what's in it. And we'll get to that story here in a few minutes. But the first one right out of the gate, and I have been... And the first kind of show and tell, and are really, this is an episode for my good friend Ryan Torget, who I believe Ryan has almost every wrestling item that there is. I mean, this guy is a collector of all collectors. He has I think the largest Facebook group for wrestling and wrestling memorabilia. Many different people are in that group, Conrad and some other people, but so just little things. trinkets or necklaces or coasters or cups. I mean, we're going to show it to you today in this episode, and then we're going to have an unboxing of some items and grab bag style, because I have no idea what's in. But this first one, and right off the bat, is Roy Shire.
Yes.
What can you tell the fans about Roy Shire?
Roy Shire, the Professor Roy Shire, was a pro wrestler and legendary promoter in San Francisco, and so some might say that we own a piece of the territory at this point. An original ring rope.
Yep.
From the Cow Palace, and this is from the estate of George Shire. Roy Shire. Oof, not George. Woo.
Yeah, and Dane Shire sent us this in a really nice letter from the memo from the desk of Roy Shire, and signed. Talks about the different things here in the memorabilia. We've seen the photos of when they cut the piece, and it just something that's, this thing's pretty heavy. This is a pretty heavy thing here.
So a lot of the wrestling rings that you see even now or back then, WWE and some other promotions use the rope with the colored tape on it. But these WCW and a lot of the old promotions use steel cable. So this is a rubber casing. Yeah. And inside here is a thick steel cable.
Right.
And so this thing is pretty solid. I mean, I wouldn't want to get blackjacked with one of these. I'll tell you that much. But this is a piece of the ring, and there was several pieces. Like Scottie said, they had the picture. You see the sparks from them cutting the steel cable.
Right.
But this is a piece of history. I mean, this is 50 years old.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tremendous history, tremendous wrestling at the Cow Palace. Guys like Moondog, Lonnie Main, Dean Ho,
right.
Don Morocco, and just so many more. Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens.
Oh, absolutely.
So many classics.
Yeah, and Rock Rims, he and I have become pals, and I got a lot of San Francisco DVDs from Rock, and I know our good buddy, shout out to Matty Montcalm.
Yes.
He is a big Ray Stevens fan and has gotten into the San Francisco wrestling as well. And I am told here from this letter that only 5 of these exist.
So,
and Matty has one.
There you go.
So there you go. I believe he has one.
Yes.
Maybe you should post it and say, I think he has one. So we go from Roy Shire, these are great historical wrestling names, to, how about this one, Mike? Bill Watts.
The Cowboy, Bill Watts. And Bill Watts was the promoter of the UWF Mid-South Wrestling, as it was previously known. He was a star there before becoming the promoter. Who was the promoter out there? He was the blind gentleman.
Where at?
Oklahoma. The Leroy McGurk?
Yes.
Leroy McGurk. I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
See, this is live, folks. This is, we're one-take people.
That's right.
But here is, too, a Mid-South coaster
and
signed
by Bill Watts. To my guru, your friend, Bill Watts. And this, I got this one from a friend of mine, the Professor Ouch. Professor Ouch. He is big on Facebook. Sells a lot of different memorabilia, and he's kind of into a little bit of everything, theater and arts and different crafts and you name it. But he does have a nice wrestling. I've gotten a lot of programs from the Professor, and so this is one of those that I saw in the background, actually on the wall, and I'm like, hey, would you sell that? And he said, sure, why not? And so it was a great pickup for me to have a Bill Watts autograph. But to have a Bill Watts autograph on, I mean, these are not like, someone made them last week.
Yeah.
I mean, these are original Mid-South coasters from the territory. So pretty interesting. And this episode is about the neat stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that you don't quite often see.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about this. There is a ton of tremendous memorabilia out there. You have people that specialize in certain things, or you like people who like to have it all. So whatever you're into, we have some great pieces here, and things besides just magazines and programs and belts. I mean, there are so many great ways to collect. I mean, who would have thought we'd have a piece of a ring You know, so that's something.
Yeah, and I'm being told that apparently Hawkins is in the background producing now, and apparently he left a light on that's a glaring on my head.
Well, I have that problem too.
I'm going to have to shut this light off, Mike.
So, quick Bill Watts story. So my father and uncle grew up in Staten Island, New York, just like I did. And my grandfather, not a big wrestling fan, but my uncle and my father just finished a Little League game, and my grandpa decided to surprise them with tickets to an outdoor show in Staten Island in the 1960s. And the main event, WWF Heavyweight Champion Bruno Sammartino defending against the challenger, this man right here, the Cowboy Bill Watts.
Looks like we dropped our coaster here. But, I mean, these are two pieces that, I do this with sports memorabilia. Yeah, I'm a big New York Yankees fan, and I like when I go to, like, baseball card shows and those kinds of things and conventions, I'm looking for the odd item.
Yeah.
I've got the cards, I've got some of that stuff, baseballs and signed balls and those. But, for instance, I have an item that is from Mickey Mantle's last game in New York Stadium. In the New York Yankee Stadium. But it is it was a popcorn holder, okay? And so it came in a popcorns, New York Yankees, and almost, picture like a cone. And when you're done eating the popcorn, you take the bottom piece off, and now it's a megaphone. And so it's a great piece, and it's one of those oddball items that survived since 1968, 69. So, here we are in the wrestling world, and these are the little things that I really get a kick out of.
Yeah, and it's great. And as you're about to see, we're really going to push your buttons with these next items. Some rare buttons.
Yeah, so this is, I talked to Dick Bourne about this, and these were sold at the arenas in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. If you can see this is a necklace chain, the original chain, and a button here, and it was a charm, as you know, because there's no thing on the back to stick, so it's an actual charm, and I believe that is the Mid-Atlantic.
That is the old Eastern States. Eastern States, which was the precursor. It was renamed as the Mid-Atlantic. There's a great picture of Jerry Briscoe, the great Jerry Briscoe, one of the nicest guys in pro wrestling with that belt. So there's a lot of lineage behind that belt, and you could actually learn about that. Got to give a shout out to Dick Bourne and the Mid-Atlantic Gateway.
Absolutely.
If you've not been on the Mid-Atlantic Gateway, that's where I first started to really learn about Mid-Atlantic. Until I met Scottie, and I realized Scottie was the quintessential Mid-Atlantic wrestling fan, but just great stuff all through the years. But you'll learn about the Eastern States title there.
And I do thank Dick and David Chappell for adopting me into the Mid-Atlantic Gateway family.
Yes, absolutely.
I really appreciate that. And Dick Bourne's been so good. And we've had David Chappell on as a guest for 3 episodes. Yeah. And then Dick Bourne and the books that he's written. And, he gave Wrestler Weekly a shout out. Yeah. If you'll remember when he did the Crown Jewel. Yeah. The Buddy Rogers, I don't know if a lot of people know this, the Buddy Rogers magazine that Dick Bourne showcases in his book about the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, the Crown Jewel, is from my collection. Yeah. And he gave us a little shout out, and I thought that was fantastic.
It's incredible to be, a part of something like that, especially with a storied entity like the Mid-Atlantic Gateway. They've been around for so many years, but, and Dick Bourne, was such an approachable human being, and I've had different questions even before I was with Wrestle Week. I have a minute like, hey Dick, can I? And he'd always email you right back, and be happy to talk to you about wrestling. So it's good to see good guys do good things, and obviously, the Wrestler Weekly collection. We're glad that it's out there for a lot of people to see.
Yeah, and a shout out to Bobby Yates. Bobby is actually he does a lot of historian work for the Mid-Atlantic Gateway. Doesn't get the credit, doesn't want the credit. Yeah. Bobby is a longtime Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling fan, and he has been, I think back in the heyday of Mid-Atlantic in Greensboro Coliseum, he only missed 2 shows. Yeah. And so Bobby's been a great friend of ours. We've showcased him as far as the Sunday shout out in the past. But let's keep moving towards more buttons. And this one actually you can stick. And so another item that I got from Professor Ouch.
Yes.
This professor is just on the money. Huh?
He is on the money, and you are going to see some things here. We're talking about the Sheik. It's about to get fiery. So this is, you see the button with the Sheik with those cool Ray-Bans going on there. If you've ever seen pictures of the Sheik in his street clothes, he was big into the leisure suits, big into the colorful. He was big into style. And so there's a little bit more of a docile picture of the Sheik. But here's the Sheik on body press. This is a wrestling program from Detroit that Scottie was kind enough to gift to me about a year or two ago. And here's the Sheik with his snake, one of his many snakes that he brought to the ring over the years. But there probably wasn't ever a better character in pro wrestling than the Sheik, a more protected character than the Sheik, a guy who lived the gimmick, so much so that his wife regularly referred to him as Sheik. And so there's a great book that's going to be coming out next year about the Sheik, I believe in April. I forget who's writing it, but pre-orders have done tremendous. So I'll find out that information. We'll put it in the comments there. But so we have this body press, I believe it's from 1973. Here's this next one here, body press. This one looks like from 1969.
Yeah, December 6th of 69. And, this was the Detroit territory, Cobo Hall. Yeah. My wife and all of her family are from Detroit. And so what I enjoy is going back when I'm in Michigan and Detroit and talking to a lot of her relatives, the grandparents, the aunts, uncles, all those people to discuss, hey, tell me about wrestling in the 70s, Cobo Hall. And they all have a story. Oh, yeah. It was so big. It was, back then in that time period, you had the Detroit Red Wings. You had the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Tigers. But wrestling was right there with it. And that was the beauty of it in Cobo Hall, especially with the Sheik, Bobo Brazil. You can go on.
Oh, yeah. And, with Sheik owning the territory, his son, Captain Ed George, which not a lot of people knew at the time, was the Sheik's son. But the main title of that territory was the U.S. Heavyweight Championship. And on that, the body press here in 69, you saw a different version of the belt. But here is a very popular version. Again, this is similar to the Mid-Atlantic United States title, where this is more of a straight cut belt, and it has the different side plates here. And there's 3 of these on each side, similar to the Mid-Atlantic belt, but it's these, with a pointed bottom. Really, really sharp belt. Gino Hernandez held this belt.
Absolutely.
So many great wrestlers held this. But Sheik was U.S. champion seemingly forever. Right. And Sheik rarely put guys over, So it was something if you got a victory over the Sheik for the belt.
Right. And apparently, I guess I shouldn't say. I was going to give some inside information, but I'm not going to do it. I'll just say that I was told. How about that? Okay. I was told that the Sheik did not pay very well either.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you who told me that.
Yeah, but we'll let sleeping dogs lie on that one. But what we're going to do here is we have now an unboxing that is going to happen. So we have this mystery box. Scottie, tell the story of the mystery box.
Yeah, so basically, it's one of those things where, I'm a basketball coach. I'm right here in the middle of my season. 27th season that is, and so I during the season I don't sleep a lot, and so now my staff would tell you I don't sleep. It doesn't matter what in the season or out. Just I'm a vampire. So so I do one of those in the man cave, listening to something on vinyl. Who knows what, maybe
the worldwide wrestling theme.
I think probably back then it was probably a little BJ Thomas.
There you go.
Maybe a little Chris Christopherson.
There you go. Wow.
Who knows? A little late night, you're kind of scrolling through the many different apps of wrestling memorabilia that I'm on and connected with, but I came across a guy that was just selling about 800 items, and literally I'm scrolling through. And I'm taking screenshots. I'm going to give my secrets away. This is the problem. But I'm screenshotting, and so then I remember. And so then I go back. And so I sent everything to this guy and say, hey, what are we talking about on this? And so we took a few items out. We made a deal. And so all of that is in this box. And the thing is, I have no idea what's in it. So I don't know if at the end of the unboxing, I may just give it all to Mike because I don't like any of it. I mean, that's the great thing about it. Either you or my son Miles. You know? No, Hawkins, you get none of it. So.
Yeah.
So here we go. This guy's in Garden City, Michigan. We just talked about Michigan. I thought at first it said Garden City, New Jersey.
Oh, no, we're the Garden State, New Jersey, but not a Garden City.
All right, let's see what we got here. Looks like it's packaged well. We got to see some bubble wrap here. All right. Well, I see a T-shirt. See what we got here, Mike.
So right here looks like
some kind of
AEW T-shirt here. Take a look at that for you AEW faithful out there.
They can watch the show right after us.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to be seeing Dynamite in just a little while.
Now, I see a lot of DVDs, so let's see what we got here, Mike. Well, first thing, we got something here that maybe David Peck might like. We should have talked about this last week, Mike. What do we got here?
We have a Heritage, WWE Heritage 4 wrestling card here. CM Punk, here the long-haired version of CM Punk early on in his WWE run.
Now, this is a WWE stamped 8x10 with a hologram.
A lot of times, too, this is what they give out at signings. When you go to a signing with a WWE talent. Here's CM Punk from his heyday in 2011.
Ooh, look at this, Mike.
This is an 8x10 with a different version of the United States Championship. Greg the Hammer Valentine. This was the smaller version. This belt style was very popular in the 80s. You saw a lot of territories use this one, and Mid-Atlantic decided to go here after the other U.S. titles.
Now, Mike, you talked about this guy here recently.
Yes, and this is my least favorite era of this gentleman, but this is Playboy Buddy Rose from his time in the World Wrestling Federation with the blowaway diet. If you look here, there's the picture of him enjoying, I don't know, what is that, a turkey or a giant sandwich or a bowling ball? I don't know what that is, but he's having a good time. These were the more comedic times of Playboy Buddy Rose, but despite this figure that he worked very hard for, he was dynamite in the wrestling ring.
Now, I will tell you, my son Miles, his favorite wrestler is the one I'm getting ready to show you.
So, current NWA, former NWA, as of a few months ago, I apologize, world champion Nick Aldis, when he was known as Magnus, and he was the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. That is the Wildcat version of the TNA Heavyweight Championship. This was, the very beginning of Nick Aldis, his stardom in pro wrestling.
Right. And then the last of it, and I'm not a really big 8x10 guy, so it must have been really late. And so this is.
But again,
we just talked about the crown jewel, didn't we?
I'm sure you picked these because of the belts. And so here is Dory Funk Jr. with the NWA crown jewel belt, the World Heavyweight Championship belt. This looks like was a cross promotion between Pro Wrestling Illustrated and TNA Wrestling. I don't know what affiliation Dory had with them, but a very nice picture nonetheless, and good to see that good-looking crown jewel on display.
All right, so let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 DVDs here, Mike. Let's see what this first one is.
So right here we have SummerSlam 2011. This was
that one's sealed, right?
Yes, sealed, unopened. Battle for the WWE Championship, CM Punk versus John Cena. This is the match where Alberto Del Rio cashes in and wins the championship from CM Punk after an attack by Kevin Nash.
That's right. All right. Now we've got little Ring of Honor action.
Little Ring of Honor, the Round Robin Challenge. This is the early days of Ring of Honor. Here you could see with the logo low key on the cover. On the back, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and a young bleach blonde Samoa Joe.
Wow.
Also, too, here on the front cover, you'll see Michael Shane, who also wrestled as Matt Bentley, cousin of Shawn Michaels.
There you go.
You might remember him, a former X Division champ. In TNA Wrestling, so some great stuff, and an interesting aside here is this was at a time, the beginning of Christopher Daniels. He was actually quite a few years in at this point.
Yeah.
But the beginning of Ring of Honor. But Christopher Daniels at one point was considered the best independent wrestler in the world.
Wow.
And so he had made a few appearances in WCW, and he was one of those guys that you go, oh, this guy's going to get signed.
Yeah.
He had a good gimmick. He was good in the ring. And he eventually, had a tremendous career.
Absolutely. Another Ring of Honor, it looks like.
Bloodstained Honor. Here you go. You got, this is like the bloody covers, right? You see quite a few guys here. But here you got Necro Butcher and Samoa Joe on the front. You see a couple of more guys bloodied up there. Here on the back, you see Homicide and Colt Cabana in a bloody affair. But the main event on this one here was Samoa Joe and Jay Briscoe. So this was actually, I didn't say main event, this was a compilation disc, but that's the feature match on this. And just some of the bloodiest matches in Ring of Honor at that time.
All right, couple of TNA. Kurt Angle with the belt.
With
the
that
Midwestern
TNA
belt.
Heavyweight Championship. Kurt Angle versus Christian Cage. The main event. Both guys who had really good TNA runs right off of some WWE runs there. And this was a good time for TNA. So, and you even have Bullet Bob Armstrong, legend.
That's right.
Wrestling for the TNA Tag Team Championships, teaming with his son, the Road Dogg, facing AJ Styles and Tomko with the Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, and so last year I was deep diving in TNA. I mean, I've got so much so that I got tons of DVDs. I went all in and even got the turnbuckle, the ring post, the magnet with the TNAWrestling.com magnet, the original X Division here.
Best of the X Division, and this is what really set TNA apart, especially in its early years. The X Division wasn't necessarily a light heavyweight division. It did feature a lot of smaller guys, but also featured some bigger guys. Samoa Joe was a very successful X Division champion. This was more, I felt, about the style of wrestling rather than the than the weight limits. So this is a gem. I mean, you got guys like Chris Sabin on here, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, who was doing Canadian Destroyers at the beginning. Now you see 3 of them in any given match. But when that move was considered something very special.
All right, now we got 2 more left here, Mike.
So we have, this is a WWN World Wrestling Network. If you remember, Evolve Wrestling was a part of that. And Ring of Honor present Full Impact Pro. And so you see CM Punk and Samoa Joe, who were rivals, but they are tag team partners here. They take on Sal Renaro, who's in the NWA now, and Colt Cabana.
Wow.
So an interesting card here, but Full Impact Pro had some great wrestling early on. Daniel Bryan, I know, was big into Full Impact Pro. It made a comeback a few years ago as part of the World Wrestling Network.
All right, and one more, and this one's got quite a few belts on it.
Yep, the Full Impact Pro. Looks like the tag team titles are on the front here. And you see James Gibson, Jamie Noble, who you might know him better as, CM Punk on the cover, and good old Spanky. He hasn't been called Spanky in years, but Brian Kendrick, the Brian Kendrick,
that's right,
or Mr. Brian Kendrick, or whatever you want to call him today. But an excellent talent in the ring. Also, you'll see Roderick Strong and Homicide featured on here. And again, this was at a point where the independent scene, this was kind of a glory days kind of thing, where you had so many guys who became stars later on the independent circuit.
Yeah, and so, show and tell. And this is the part of collecting. We've had different shows so far where we've talked about history of wrestling. We've talked about matches. But when it gets, this episode here is for the collector.
Yeah.
Because, I know for me, so many years, people told me, my friends, you got to put a TV in your man cave. And I refuse because I'm a purist. I talked a couple episodes ago, maybe it might have been last episode, last season, or last week, about growing up and having the transistor radio. My dad would listen to sports on the radio, and but for me, I've got a whole collection of vinyl, collection of CDs, cassettes, 8 tracks. I've got all that, and the music is a therapy for me, so I didn't want to do that. I wanted to read and listen to music. I want to go way back. However, I decided that I would start stockpiling DVDs, and I mean buying a ton. And so I was in a thrift shop one day in Florida when I went to see Reggie, and Miles and I were in there, and they had a nice TV, $20. Smart TV, had all the apps, everything, and worked great. The only thing it didn't have was a remote. Went to Walmart, got a universal remote. And Mike's been in the man cave, and when you're watching the wrestling, so I use it now to watch the wrestling, and so I'm in the man cave, and
or the occasional mafia movie.
Well, that too. There is that too. And so this is kind of what I'm about, and I love it. You're reading off the wrestling there, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't wait.
Can't wait to watch.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How about you, Mike?
There's a charm to for a lot of us who grew up trading tapes. If you're of a certain age, trading VHS tapes, and that was a big thrill. So when things went digitized, sometimes you could lose a little bit of that originality because thank God WWE Network and all that exists. You see a lot of great footage, but you watch World Class Championship Wrestling because of the music licensing. You're not seeing Kevin Von Erich come out to Stranglehold.
Right.
You're not seeing Kerry Von Erich come out to Tom Sawyer.
Right.
And that was a big piece of the presentation of World Class Championship Wrestling.
Right.
Same thing. I know when I watched the Midnight Express come out, I said this in an earlier episode a few weeks ago. My favorite team, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane.
Right.
I want to hear them come out.
Right.
To their original theme, not a dubbed over thing.
Right.
So the originality that comes along with having these DVDs, to see it as it was presented originally, is tremendous.
Well, Road Warriors with Iron Man.
Exactly.
That's the Road Warrior pop. Part of that was because of Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
let's just
absolutely.
face it. That's what it was. And so, there's that great video, great clip, I should say, going around of Dusty Rhodes. With just certain music that he would select, and the crowd would be nuts. And but I hope you've enjoyed our show and tell time this week. It's been a fun episode. We were able to unbox some things, and I'm pretty pleased with what came out of the box. And again, if not, I'll just give it to Mike. But no. So hope you'll enjoy your Thanksgiving tomorrow, and we just want to say thank you. And all of our support that we get from you, the friends and fans and followers of Wrestle Weekly. And so for Mike and Reggie, I'm your host, Scottie Richardson. Until next time, fans, so long for now.
Wrestler Weekly coming at you live. Tommy Wildfire Rich, the big debate, old school, new school. Who cares? Wrestling Weekly, they bring you all the news.